Once there was a little boy. His mommy took him to his favorite playground, and this playground had the tallest slide. He couldn't wait. He rushed out of the car, climbed up to the top of that slide, but there was a little girl on top of the slide. What is she doing? The little boy thought to himself. She must be scared. And he walked over. It's not that scary. I can go down first. It's fun. Now, in your opinion, did that little boy make a wise or unwise decision? What I just shared with you was an example of a super simple case story. A case story is any situation description from real life that we can use to study how to make decisions. At Harvard Business School, where I got my MBA, case stories are 20 to 30 page written descriptions of business dilemmas. The students spend hours analyzing the case together to produce a solution. And the solution is a plan of action for the main character in the case story, usually a CEO of a company or another business leader. If Harvard Business School rose to become the top business program in the world by mastering the use of this case method, why shouldn't we use it in our most significant relationships, like parenting, grandparenting, teaching, coaching, mentoring? This method can be universally applied. In my talk, I will focus on parenting. My case stories are 1-minute oral scenarios from the child's immediate experience with a simple question in the end, just like the story I shared in the beginning. The case stories done this way help children to become confident decision makers and thoughtful problem solvers. Let's go back to how I came up with this idea. When I first became a parent, I learned a new dimension to the most precious word in the world. Mommy. It was love like I had never known before. But on the other hand, when I first became a parent, I felt overwhelmed and underprepared. No matter how many parenting books I read or discussion groups attended, I was confused. Every situation was different. When I found an idea that worked, it stopped working or my child changed. There was no consistency at all. This felt eerily similar to what I had felt like at Harvard Business School my first year. There too, I had felt overwhelmed and underprepared because the Harvard Business School case stories were all different. Once I learned a business concept explained in one case story, the next case story was about something else. So, as a parent to a new baby, I connected my parenting experience with my experience at Harvard Business School first year. So I began to wonder, how could I use this case method that had helped me deal with the ambiguity of business dilemmas to help me deal with the ambiguity of parenting dilemmas? At the same time, my youngest son, Jupiter, loved stories. And his favorite book series was Berenstain Bears. Exquisitely illustrated, eloquently written. But surprise, Jupiter preferred it when I told him stories about this little guy, Baby Bunny, his favorite lovey. Now, I'm not a native English speaker, so my stories were not eloquent, but plain and simple, and yet Jupiter preferred them. During this time, for myself, I was studying the book of Proverbs in the Bible and learning about the importance of wisdom in life. I thought, how could I use these baby bunny stories that Jupiter loved so much to teach him something valuable, like wisdom or wise decisions? I'm also an engineer from Georgia Tech, so I thought I could do some parenting engineering. And so I took the Harvard Business School case method I described earlier, and I stripped it into its bare bones. My stories keep the power of the case method, yet they are super simple. In a way, what I was doing was parenting upside down, because traditionally we teach our children what to do, and then we establish elaborate systems to control and monitor those behaviors. Not so with the case method. The idea of the case method is to usher the child to think for himself, starting with the simplest decisions. So how does it work? As the child listens to the story, she imagines herself in it. The neurons in her brain are firing and the pathways are being opened, as if she was really in that situation. In sports, this is called imagery training, and it has been scientifically proven to improve athletic performance. At Georgia Tech, I was a champion 1,500-meter runner, and I used this technique to help me prepare for pop-up situations in a race. Let's say I'm running in a race, and suddenly a shorter runner with a quicker stride cuts in front of me. This can get me all tripped up and lose distance. But I was prepared. A friend said, "Anne, great instincts." And I thought, hogwash, I had been practicing in my head. And in the same way as the child listens, she imprints that decision process in her brain, and her neural networks are prepped for real life. So what does it take for you to do this, to build case stories? Two things. First, you have to qualify, and second, you have to understand the basic structure of a case story. Here is the qualification. Raise your hand if you were once 4 years old. Everyone. We all have what it takes to do this. Somewhere within us, we have the ability to imagine and immerse fully in a story. No Harvard degree required. Second, let's go over the case story structure. We'll do this with an example. And as you listen to this example, consider the structure. What are the key elements in any case story? Here is the example. Once there was a little boy. It was Halloween, and he was dressed up as a doctor. His daddy was a doctor, and the little boy loved his daddy. Daddy helped other people. In their neighborhood, they had this parade where the children marched to show off their costumes, and the little boy had just finished in the parade when he noticed that one of his friends was out there crying. The little boy thought to himself, I know, she must have been spooked by that scary-looking gorilla costume. But I am a doctor. I can help. So he walked over to his friend and said, it is not a real gorilla, it's just somebody inside a costume. Now, did that little boy make a wise or unwise decision? When I shared this story with Jupiter, my son, he knew it was a wise decision. And so I hugged him. Good job, Jupiter. You know how to make wise decisions and how to be helpful. So there you have it. Did you detect the key elements in that case story process? The key elements are the same, whether we're talking about Harvard Business School case stories or simple case stories for children like that. Let's go through them so you know how to do this. When I first started out, I immediately introduced the case protagonist. Not a CEO of a company, but a simple character with whom the child identifies. I've used a generic little boy, but you can pick anyone you want. And then there is the situation or the story, a single incident from the child's immediate experience. At the end of the story, there is a dilemma. The case protagonist is faced with what to do, followed by a decision or an action which you then turn to your child to evaluate. Alternatively, if you want to make the stories more challenging, you can do what they do at Harvard Business School. You ask an open-ended question. And in our example, this would be, what do you think the little boy should do? And finally, in the end, how I hugged Jupiter and told him how wise he was and how he knew how to make wise decisions, the reward. Without the reward, the process will fail. You shower your child with encouragement, love, and conversation. So, you have what it takes to do this. You've been 4 years old. And you understand the key elements that make up a case story. What do you think is the big idea that makes this work? The grease on the wheel, so to speak. It is trust. Trust. To make this work, you must give your child time and space to think and develop her own answer. It may not be the solution you want, but so be it. Let it go. Have a conversation. Learn more about what she thinks, but please trust her. Putting words in your child's mouth or using this idea to lecture are sure ways to ruin the fun process. It may be crystal clear that the Harvard professors can trust that their students have what it takes to learn via this process that puts so much responsibility of the learning on the student. But what about children? Can we trust that they have what it takes to do this? Yes. I believe that all children are strong and rich and capable on the inside. That all children have the potential and the preparedness, the curiosity and the interest to construct their own learning and to negotiate with all the things that comes to them from their environment. Believe it or not, simply trusting your child ushers in ownership and learning. So you see, this is so simple to do. You have nothing to lose to embark on the process. It's not like you're testing a drug on your child. You're trying stories. For children, this is fun. They learn to think for themselves, to own their decisions, and to be proud of them. They grow self-confidence. They learn that they have what it takes to face life as it comes to them wisely. And finally, they develop what I call mental grit, the ability to stand firm on what you believe in, even under peer pressure, something that becomes more and more valuable as the child grows older. And for parents, it's about how to stop worrying about your kids and start having fun with them. Remember, this is a proven methodology. It's not something I came up with. The CASE method is used at business schools and law schools around the world. As you engage in stories like this, you're creating a safe environment for discussions, even the uncomfortable topics, because remember, you're talking about them in the third person. And finally, my greatest personal benefit that I have gained from this process has been that I have bonded with my son. Sharing stories about my son's life from his perspective communicates love in a way that is hard to beat. What do you think your children desire from you the most? Love. Love. Remember, you are the guardians of human connections to your children. When your child comes to you, don't hand him a screen. Tell him a story. You're the leader to start on this journey of sharing 1-minute stories with a question in the end. You're the storytellers to those you parent, coach, teach, or mentor. Remember, stories transfer experiences directly to the listener's brain. There is empathy, and you gasp in unison. Thank you.